I was running around the house, try to calm down, I was screaming. Honestly, my mother, she looked at me and she said,
he's possessed.
Mad, I'm possessed, This is the way I lived football back in days. I was a nightmare on the pitch. I was so passionate about winning games. It's inside your body,
So out of the three of us, actually, we've got England, France and Germany. Who hates who more?
I cry so much. I hated Germans back in days. Germans has been our nightmare for years and years.
From a German position then, what would you see as the bigger rivalry, France or England?
Probably France. So then asking, is that a big game, Germany, England? Well, yeah, it's like asking a Man United supporter how big the game it is playing Coventry. So
So if England win the World Cup, on this show, on our final episode, would you guys consider sticking a flare up your backside?
As I said, if they deserve to win, fair enough.
Well, and I need to see a health and safety officer before I say
That's the most British response ever.
You know what?
Hello and welcome. You've joined us at an incredibly exciting moment in history. After weeks of contractions, swollen ankles and heavy breathing, I'm beyond delighted to welcome you to the birth of How to Win the World Cup. Over the coming months, How to Win the World Cup will be your weekly footballing epidural as we take our first steps towards inexorable World Cup glory. So, as this podcast's technical director of football, I'm thrilled to be able to welcome our first two squad members, World Cup winner Emmanuel Petit and Der Kaiser's deputy, comedian Henning Wehn. Emmanuel, how did your love affair with the World Cup begin?
I have to go back to when I was a child, around 10, 11 years old, and I was so passionate about football back in days. And, the Platini team, with the square in the midfield, and I have such big memories about the World Cup in 1982 and 1986, especially the game in Sevilla against Germany, and as well what happened, during the 1986 World Cup. And I cried so much. I hated Germans back in days, and but I loved it. My love affair, started back those days. Yeah.
Well, we have a German with us today, Henning. We're old pals. I've not seen you for 10 years.
Yeah.
Thank you for joining us on How to Win the World Cup.
Yeah.
How have you been?
Yeah, still in one piece. So, yeah, what said surviving is succeeding. So, all is good here. Thank you.
And paint a picture for us. Were your family football mad? Was it your dad or your mum who got into it?
Yeah, of course. My father used to play football. Both my brothers too as well. We had a garden, back in the house. And I remember when this game, probably one of the most important game in World Cup history, the game between Germany and France. We were leading the score 3-1, and then we conceded the draw. We went on the penalty. I remember Schumacher, what happened with Battiston. And I remember I was screaming in front of my TV, and I was almost that close, to break the TV. I was so angry, so annoyed, and I went outside. I was running around the house. Try to calm down. I was
running
screaming. Honestly, it was a nightmare. My mother, she looked at me and she said, "He's becoming
He's possessed.
mad." I'm possessed. This is the way I lived football back in days.
And were you playing football yet?
Of course, yeah.
So what age did you start?
I was a nightmare on the pitch.
In what way?
I was so passionate about winning games, and I remember when I had to draw with my team or lose a game. It never happened often, but when it did, I remember myself, you cannot talk to me anymore. Leave me alone, for a couple of hours, don't talk to me because I have to think about it. I have to refresh my mind. It was so important for me to win the game. I was so into it, and it was quite difficult, for my parents and my brother sometimes to understand the way I was feeling it, but it was in my blood. I didn't accept losing games, and even when I became a professional afterwards, it's quite different with the generation nowadays. I won't point the finger at them, but I come from a generation when we lose a game, you can't talk to us. You know, it's impossible to sleep afterwards. It's impossible to have a meal. It's impossible. You know, we needed a couple of hours to come back. You know.
Were you just angry about losing, or were you thinking about how would I play differently if the same situation arises again next time? Was it like
losing game? You know, that was unacceptable for me. Not even in football, but anything. You know, I used to play so many games. You know, sport games, tennis. I remember myself smashing. You know, everything. You know, I was going into fury all the time. You know, I was mad, you know. I know it sounds weird, you know, but this is the way I was, you know, and I think that shows how passionate you can be, you know, when you start a game.
Yeah, I think you need to win something really big, end up winning the World Cup. You have to have that mentality, don't you?
I think so, yeah. If you want to cross the limits and to go very close to the victory, you need to get this mental, you know, this mentality, definitely.
Because there's other people you play against and they've got that mindset, and you essentially, if you then say, oh yeah, it's all doesn't matter all that much, you're not going to win against them, are you? So
I have a huge respect, you know, for those people that can separate things, you know, in their mind, you know, after a huge defeat, you know. Some people, you know, they step back, you know, and they tell you it's just a game. Life is more important. I can understand that. But, you know, I'm part of those people that it's very difficult, you know, to separate things. And you live the defeat, you know, physically, you know, it's inside your body, you know.
Yeah. And of the squad in '98, how would you split that between the people who had your mindset and the people who were a bit more laissez-faire?
The vast majority of my teammates, you know, we used to think the same. I remember some of them smashing, you know, the trash or broken things into the dressing room, you know, during the halftime or after a game, you know, they were so angry you cannot talk to them. Some of them, they don't talk anymore and they go straight to the showers, you know, and even afterwards, you know, after the game, they don't talk in the bus, you know, going back to the hotel. They don't talk to you. And I understand, I respect that. Yeah. Because this is the way we feel, you know.
So a good violent streak, perhaps, is important to winning the World Cup. Henning, as a German, I mean, you're one of the most successful countries on earth when it comes to winning major football tournaments. What was the first
And
World
I
Cup?
take personal credit.
What was the first World Cup that you remember?
Well, same as Emmanuel, 82. So I remember the 1980, the Euros final beating Belgium. I remember watching that game. And then, World Cup 82. And... yeah, I mean, the first tournament I watched in Belgium, we won the thing. Then we go to the World Cup, and we're not playing a great World Cup. I mean, there was that strange game against Austria with the 1-0 for Germany, which was good enough for both teams to progress. So, and then no one was really doing much. That was a bit of a strange one. And and then the France game where it looked we were out, and then from nowhere we end up winning and going through. And then I just saw that there was like...
for making him cry as a boy?
No.
Well, they were 2 goals up and they did manage to hold on to it. It's a shame, but...
Do you remember the Schumacher? You know?
Yeah, but Schumacher, Battiston, yeah.
So out of the three of us, actually, we've got England, France and Germany. Who hates who more?
Yeah, well, we have a strong history, you know, with Germany, you know, because of the World War, you know, and... but in sports, especially in football, Germans has been our nightmare for years and years. 1982 and 1986, we've been out of the competition because of the Germans, and both in semi-final.
Yeah, we've been there, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then 2014 as well, where France had a really good
But now it's changed.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, the tables have turned a bit.
Yeah, you beat us in the Nations League, and that squares it all. That squares it all.
From a German position, then, what would you see as the bigger rivalry, France or England?
Well, got to be France, really, because I mean they're competing at eye level, so that was always close. Whereas, like with England, it's always the big thing. Like games against Germany, England, big game, in England. But back home, the big games are against Italy, against France, so teams who compete at eye level. I mean, England has now obviously done better over the last few years, but for many years it was like England had been to one major final, Germany had been to 13. So then asking, is that a big game, Germany, England? Well, yeah, it's like asking a Man United supporter how big a game it is playing Coventry. So it's more or less irrelevant.
Coventry and Manchester hadn't been at war in living memory. Because I'm an England fan, obviously. Every tournament, I'm convinced that we're going to win. 1990 was the first one that I remember. Stuart Pearce missing the penalty. Gascoigne lighting the tournament.
I can't think back that far. Who won 1990? Who won the tournament?
I was not born.
But am I deluded? Or do you think, Emmanuel, you've played against England before. Do you think...
It's coming home, Matt. It's coming home.
That's all I want to hear.
One day it's going to come home.
Do you think we'll be alive to see it?
Yeah, it's coming closer and closer.
It has to change anyway, so sooner or later, but better soon than later. It's going to change. But, I come from a generation where England had probably one of the greatest generation, with Scholes, Lampard, Gerrard, Ferdinand. I mean, look at them. So many great players, Shearer, so many great players, and they didn't achieve anything. And
why didn't we?
I have no idea. Maybe I may have my opinion about that. It reminds me Spain before they won the World Cup and European tournament. It was quite the same with them, for generation, great players, but nothing's happened. Why? Because I think the identity of club was more important than the national team. And when those guys come into the national team, they come from Manchester United, Liverpool, Arsenal, and the rivalry, between them. It's becoming more important sometimes. Diego as well is becoming more important sometimes to play for the national team, for example. That's my opinion. Maybe I'm wrong, but I don't know what to say.
And do you think, because obviously that golden generation is the one that really, in a way, the public slightly fell out with because of that. They perceived that there was silos between Chelsea, Arsenal, Man United in the dressing room.
Unity, you need that.
You could sort of sense maybe that it wasn't there. But is that too easy an analysis? Is the reality that we were taking players that you couldn't play in the same position a lot of the time, trying to fit all these stars in? Maybe we fell into that trap at the last Euros, and maybe what Thomas Tuchel's doing in saying that you can't take all these players.
I think there is something very important, that this is probably, we are the example, the French team, when we won the World Cup in 1998, we were all great players, but there were only one player on top of it, Zidane. Zidane was our leader on the pitch. He was the masterclass player, but he was on the top of the great players. He was living in his own world. This is probably what has been missing for England for years. They hold great players, but they need one player on top of them.
And did everyone in the group accept that Zidane was a cut above?
Of course, because he's so humble and he's such a nice guy. So there is no trouble, between him and the rest of the team, because we all agreed that he's our masterclass player and he's an example for every one of us.
And do England have that? Is it Bellingham? Is it Cole Palmer? Is it Harry Kane?
You tell me.
Elliot Anderson. As a Forest fan, I say it's Elliot Anderson.
I have no idea.
Or maybe you don't.
And actually, for France, we have Kylian Mbappé, and they won the World Cup in 2018.
Yeah, I always thought the last few years, what's holding England back is having a captain who has never won anything. So therefore, I've obviously never been in a situation like that. But I guess if you're in a dressing room and it's the World Cup semi-final, final, and then you have got, and your skipper has never won anything. So, and then he says, this is how we have to do it. You've got to be sitting there thinking that you've never done it. How will you know?
Yeah.
So, and now with Kane having won the league in Germany, that's probably a tiny step in the right direction, that now we can say, well, but at least I've won something.
People talk about the German mindset, don't they? And I remember as a kid, Italia 90. And I watched that game back during lockdown when they replayed it, the England-Germany semi-final when we lose on penalties. I'd thought that we'd got outplayed and we got lucky to get to penalties. Actually, watching it back, England played really well, but you can see that there is a confidence that the Germans have. Where does that confidence come from? Is that a national confidence or is that just a sporting thing?
I think that happens on the football pitch. If you have got the track record of winning, then winning becomes a habit. And so yeah, we were always there or thereabouts for as long as I can think. So, and therefore I think, should England win a major tournament, I can easily see that, like what you were saying, Emmanuel, that then they'll do a Spain and then start winning the World Cup, winning the Euros, and become a dominant force in football. But they need to win that one title
to be convinced
first.
about it.
Yeah.
But do you think there's something wider nationally? Is that France is a very patriotic country, very at ease with itself a lot of the time, very sort of strong identity. Germany, similar. Maybe with England, are we too modest? Are we too
Well,
weak?
that is definitely not what you need to worry about.
No, I don't think so. It doesn't fit in the same sentence.
Okay. So we're just as arrogant.
England expects, in it? It's England expects. So there's like some unrealistic or traditionally unrealistic expectation. The whole idea of England expects, so everyone sits back in their armchair and then you do it. You bring out the bike. So England expects, but what are you doing for it?
Now, I remember, back in days, the different sport, in France, we were, 20, 30 years ago, French sportsmen used to be brand around the world that you have quality, but you are not winners. You are too romantic to win things, You're not pragmatic.
So this is actually quite a recent thing.
Well, things changed 25 years ago. Why? Because handball, so many disciplines, in
you're
sport
so
started.
good at all the team sports.
Yeah, started to win big trophy, World Cup, things like this, and we started to change our mentality, thinking we're good, but now we are winners. So it spread around the country, this mentality. And now when you look at different disciplines, sports in France, we have so many world champions, so many different disciplines during the Olympic Games as well. It changed so much things, the mentality, you need to click something, into your mind.
Yeah, you're so good. I mean, it's all the sports, handball, basketball,
Yes.
or the rugby, everything.
Yes.
And so many things. And you're
Changed.
the only country in the world that's good at all those sports.
You have to convince yourself that you can do it.
So much of it is psychological. I mean, if you think of, obviously, England haven't got to a World Cup final since '66, but we've been to 2 men's European finals consecutively. Thinking of that Italy game at Wembley, England really should have won it. Do you think that was purely down to psychology, or was it tactical as well?
Look at the newspapers. Look at the mentality you have here in England. I've seen it, for so many times. You're talking about the latest final they play, European competition. I remember myself reading newspapers days before the final, thinking, we are not going to do it. We have so many trouble. I mean, come on, guys.
It's never, no one's ever, there is never anyone on the middle ground. I remember when the Euros was in Portugal and then England were 1-0 up against France, conceded 2 goals late on. And then after the game, the only thing that was discussed on telly is by how many goals England will be beating France when they meet again in the final. So
We've got a sense of humour.
as it stands, you're the only team without a single point.
He's right. You remember the game we won against England, and England was probably the better team on the pitch. We won it 2-1.
No, there's 2 late goals.
I mean, because we believe, and this is something we've learned as well from England when we first came. Every French player who came to play in the Premier League, we came and we discovered the winning mentality. You play until the end. It never ends, until the whistle, And it doesn't matter if we are losing 2-0. It's still 15 minutes to play. We still have, time to come back into the game. We've learned that from you, guys.
So we've got that in the Premier League, but we haven't got it in the national side.
It was the same in Italy, in Spain for 1998. We are all, spread in Europe, in biggest championship, in Italy, in Spain, Germany, France, England. And we all learn, in the biggest club in Europe, how to win things, how to change our mentality. And we brought that, in France into our national team. And all together, we were agreed that we had quality and the mentality to do it. We were convinced about that.
Henning, as a fan, as a German fan going into this tournament, are you as confident as you always are? Or are things a little bit different?
No, you've got to be realistic and you've got to say, we'll make it out to group stages, but that's impossible not to with 48 teams in there. So, but then after that, now especially is an extra knockout stage round. For us to win it, we would need to stay undefeated in 5 knockout stage games. I can't see it. And we're now at the stage where we can beat everyone again on our day, but equally we can lose to absolutely anyone. I mean, we can play in the last 16 against Slovakia and be out the tournament. So it's...
you never know what to expect.
Yeah, that's right. So, but it's not like what it was like 10 years ago. You would go out on the pitch and think, we'll you would win 6-0. So that's not going to happen.
What's the relationship like between the German public, the German media and the national side? Because you've got so much success, are you chilled out about it, or is there a level of intensity? How does it compare to the relationship we have with the England team?
Well, there is a certain expectation that they'll do well, but that's based on, a track record of doing well, but equally, people are realistic enough to look at, if you lose 2-0 away, qualify to Slovakia, or then Nations League final, we lose to Portugal and France, you think, in all likelihood, that team isn't going to do it. But so the thing is, it's more a case of, when you're there, do as well as you can, but I don't think anyone realistically expects that we win the next World Cup.
It's quite a pragmatic national mindset to have. So no one really gets on their back as much as they do here. The tabloids don't try and undermine.
Yeah, the big advantage there is we've only got one tabloid. That is obviously very, very big. The Bild, exactly. Yeah. So we've only got the Bild, and they don't need to outdo any other tabloid in regards to going mad or wild. So therefore, that's all quite measured by comparison. Whereas if you've got 5-6 different tabloids all competing for the worst and most extreme headline, obviously you end up with different headlines.
You've lived in England for quite a while now.
Yeah, 20 odd years.
And you worked at Wycombe Wanderers for a bit.
That's right.
What doing?
I was working in marketing. So the company I was working for back home, they were about to go under, and we're going back to 2002. And my CV looked all right, but I didn't speak English, other than very basic school English. And I thought that needs addressing. And because I'd always worked in sports, so I applied to the 92 league clubs and got a few interviews, and then ended up with a job at Wycombe Wanderers.
So what other clubs replied?
Arsenal. We could have been
Really?
working. We could have been working together there. Yeah. Didn't have to wait until talkSPORT brings us together.
But this is why. This is we're writing a historic injustice.
Destiny.
It's the partnership we should have always had.
Yeah. And Bolton, Everton, and Wycombe they made the most sensible offer, and I say, yeah, we'll do that.
So if you can't speak English, how do you market a football club in England?
Well, it was more what I could offer was a research project into essentially what do the various stakeholders of a club, be that the staff, the local residents, supporters, players, whatever, what are sponsors, what do they make of the club, where do they see the club right now, and where do they want to see the club going forward. And it was just a case of bringing that all together. And because Wycombe got, at that time, they got a CEO for the first time in their history. And there was essentially no data he could work with. So I was just very, very lucky. So then I went and presented that to him, and they said, well, you don't speak no English, but that's still exactly what I need. So get on with it.
And did you get any banter at all for being German?
Oh, plenty, yeah. Like there was... Wycombe was still, they were doing 50-50 half-time draws, and they were also doing club lottery. I don't know how familiar, I don't know if Arsenal used to do that. So essentially they went from household to household, and they would have a weekly draw, and people would be members of their, I don't know, do you do that for Forest?
Yes, they do, yeah. Yeah, that was always a big thing, the community lottery.
So exactly. So I know one of the volunteers for the community lottery, he was in his 80s, so and he was always wore a jumper emblazoned with the Royal Air Force logo. And then he said, so where are you from? I said, from Hagen in Ruhr Valley. I said, oh yeah, I know it, but only from the air. So there was plenty of that going on. Yeah.
And did you get much of that, Emmanuel, when you first came to England? You get much abuse for being French?
Well, they used to call me Gypsy.
Because of the hair? Yeah,
the hair, probably the romantic things, from France. But the way I adapt myself, to the culture, the tradition was very easy because I really felt home straight away, when I came here.
Yeah, same here.
Honestly, I felt more comfortable here. The way people think, their mentality. I love my country, but sometimes I feel a little bit confused with the mentality in France, and the way I've been adopted, here in England has been amazing by the fans, the football fans, every football fans, because I used to be, people stop me in the street of London, so many times, Spurs fans, for example, but very nice way, and.
Spurs fans?
Yeah.
And you play for Arsenal and Chelsea.
Yeah, you have no
Spurs
idea how
fans.
many times, they stop me in a restaurant or on the streets and saying that it's such a huge regret that you didn't sign for Spurs, because they all know the stories, what happened, We had a huge history, the French players with the Premier League, and the first one who opened the door was Frank Leboeuf, but as well Eric Cantona. Those guys, especially Eric, had such a huge impact, here in Premier League, that it was quite easy for us, to come after him.
Yeah.
But this is so good to hear from a Frenchman and a German. Actually, England is this welcoming, open-minded place.
Best country
Because
in the
sometimes
world.
we can be so down on ourselves.
Best country in the world, I say.
Oh my God.
Honestly,
You're going to make me cry.
But that's why this is something I don't understand here in England. You put so much pressure on your own citizens, your own people, especially in sport. And you have great talented players, and you must give them more confidence, I think, more support.
Why do you think we do it? Why are we down on it? Because I
Because
feel it. I love my country.
it sells newspapers.
I know, but it's also, that's definitely part of it. But I feel it as a person. I feel it as a...
Fear sell things,
But I'm a patriot, and I don't like it when people are down on England. But equally, I can be quite critical of my own country. I think,
I don't know.
Are we hostile to outsiders? Are we as welcoming as we could be
Yeah.
as other countries?
Yes.
Well, you let us win when it really matters. I mean,
That's why you
we're
like
more
it.
welcome
Thank you very
much.
We're so generous. We give you
Yeah,
3
exactly,
points
yeah.
every time we play.
Honestly, every time I come back here in England, especially in London, I really like it.
So what do you miss most about it?
The mentality first, even if it changed, it's normal. But the education of people, respecting the laws. And this is something that we've been struggling, in France especially. So.
And what about watching football here? So when England play France, when England play Germany, have you watched...
And I like the tradition, sorry to interrupt you.
No, this is great.
And especially in football, I love it.
What sort of traditions?
Well, you have memories for those people who gave their lives, to protect England.
Yes.
You always have such a huge, nice tradition on Christmas times, for example. But the link with the fans, the songs all the time, and with you respect the history of England, during the World War, things like this, and I love it. Honestly, this is something I've been talking with so many people in France. We need to change that. We need to use sport, to send strong messages, to the French citizen. Nothing's happening,
Yeah, but that's what you did in '98.
I know,
with
but
the mixed, with the teams from all different ethnic backgrounds.
especially, back in days, in 1998, we had troubles, in suburb of Paris, for example, riots, between peoples and police, and our team were nicknamed, the Black Blanc-Beurre, which means black, white, and Arab people, And this is France, and we were all united under the same shirt, with the same targets, and the way we played, and everything that the messages we were sending to people was great, I think. And but nothing's happened afterwards. And when I look at my country right now, I'm not going to talk about politics, but I'm quite confused. Yeah.
But that's,
you've got more prime minister more faster than Italy in the 80s
I know,
at the moment.
I know.
yeah, or the UK about 5 years ago.
Yes.
Yeah.
But that you raised such a good point with the power of sport to highlight social issues or to even drive social change. Is that something that is a big deal in Germany, Henning? Is German football success ever translated or a catalyst for something beyond?
Well, it's
beyond the
certainly,
sport?
the 1990 one probably stands out in that one because the wall did come down in '89. And then the team winning the World Cup on top of that, that was extra special. And that certainly helped the reunification process, I would say.
What is it about the World Cup that makes it the most? Because obviously, really, probably the only thing on a par with it is the Olympics, where people who would never ordinarily watch athletics are compelled to see how their country does on the greatest international
Yeah,
stage.
but you
of all.
still then can't remember who won it if you ask them a fortnight after. Whereas the World Cup, well, you remember, you know who won it. Well, every country from 1930 onwards, you know who won the tournament. So therefore, I would say it's much bigger thing than athletics or the Olympics.
Why do you think we live our lives through football in a way that we don't through any other sport? Why doesn't rugby have the same, or even cricket?
Well, because that's obviously football is a global game in a way that rugby or cricket isn't.
Yeah, but England are quite good at those compared to football.
Well, I've just checked the scoreline at the Ashes.
By the time people listen to this, that may or may not be accurate. But we've had more success.
It was yet another whitewash at the Ashes.
So do you guys, when you watch the World Cup, obviously you want France to win, you want Germany to win. Is there any part of you that thinks, you know what, I wouldn't mind if England did it?
Well, I would prefer that France win it, but no, for me, if England win it and they deserve it, fair enough. This is sport. I'm not going into rivalry. Between both countries. The history between both countries has been so important. On different levels, and it's like the kind of story of we hate, but in the meantime we love England. In France. We like to be the best enemies of England sometimes, but if England wins the next World Cup, fair enough for me.
Yeah, ordinarily I would say that's a horrific scenario that you're painting there. But now that they've got a German manager, I'll still claim full credit for England winning it. So.
Yeah, how has that gone down in Germany?
Yeah, can you imagine that?
No, is there a sort of
certain
greater
degree
fondness?
of amusement.
But with having Harry Kane at Munich and having...
England is seen very fondly in Germany.
But is it in a way that we're kind of benign, that actually we're seen as fondly because we're not seen as a threat?
Yeah, that is fair. And then obviously it's got the idea of what great atmosphere is in English stadiums, etc., and so therefore the reputation of English football is really good in Germany, but it's more like the things away from the pitch are seen as really, really good. And so as you said, England are seen as fairly benign. It's not like there would be a lot more if someone were to say, "Oh, you want the Netherlands to win the World Cup?" No, definitely not. So definitely not. But England, worse things happen at sea.
And when you think back to Euro '96 was probably the pinnacle of jingoistic English tabloid media, that infamous Daily Mirror front page with Stuart Pearce and Paul Gascoigne in the tin hats and Achtung surrender and all that. Now we've got a German manager of the English national team taking us into a World Cup 30 years after that headline. Do you think German people see that as like a positive change? Does it reflect well on the English?
Betrayal.
Yeah, we're idiots.
I have to come back to what I said earlier. England just isn't that big a thing in Germany. We have got 9 land borders, so there is so many people we have to worry about. So we really don't need to worry about some island that's somewhere far away in the sea.
I'm really resisting sort of jokes about the war and about whether people should be more worried about Germany historically, but I'm trying to steer us away from war-based banter because I've just decried it from the 90s media. But even with us getting to the last 2 sort of tournament finals, getting to 2 European finals, that hasn't changed people's mentality. People don't now perceive England.
There was a big outcry here at the Euro 21 when England beat Germany in the last 8 at Wembley. It was last 16, wasn't it? Last 16. And I was at the game, and there was the media then went too far in Britain the other way. It was, you shouldn't be seeing 10 German bombers in the air and all that. And then you think, well, if England play Germany at Wembley, and you can't have it large. What's the point? What's the point of football? You might as well call it all off.
So are you offended by 10 German bombers?
No, I think it's great. Get on with it.
So Germans, do you think that's a sort of widely held view in Germany that they don't see it as an offensive song?
No, it's not seen as an offensive. No, it's banter, isn't it?
What about flares up the bomb?
Flares up people's backsides. Yeah, that's when you know it matters. I think it's great.
can't believe
I mean,
that.
if England play Germany at Wembley and you can't boo the German anthem, what's the point of going to the football?
I mean, I do. This is where I struggle is I don't mind it when people boo God Save the Queen. I kind of like having to operate in a hostile atmosphere as long as it doesn't go too far. But now when we boo other people's national anthems, I think, is this really the message we should be sending?
Hold a minute.
Yeah.
I mean, you already sent the Brexit message. I don't think it needs any more messages. I think they're all very clear.
That's a very good point.
Yeah.
So if England win the World Cup, on this show, on our final episode, would you guys consider sticking a flare up your backside?
As I said, if they deserve to win, fair enough. If there is controversial, things, happen during the game, or it's not the best team that win, I would have something to say probably. Yeah.
Well, and I need to see a health and safety officer before I say that.
That's the most British response ever.
You know what?
You fully assimilated.
I want to see someone with a lanyard and a clipboard and a hard hat, and then I base my decision on that.
I would be very, very curious if is it possible that Germany can meet England for the World Cup final?
It must be, yeah.
I would be very curious about that.
Yeah. Fellas, incredibly, the whistle has just been blown on our first episode of How to Win the World Cup. Emmanuel, Henning, thank you both so much, and thank you to you for watching and listening. We'll see you next week when we are talking home advantage.